Can you hear it? Welcome to Relay.
Hello. Sleep. Sleep is the dream for which we all pine. It tantalizes and titillates, taking our bad decisions to task. Sleep. For without sleep, what are we? Who are we? And what do we sleep? Shiver wants to die in his. Nighthawk wishes for more. Ms. Hartz has no need of it, for sleep is the domain of foolish mortals. Sleep. I want it. I need it. Or, wait, for we are human. We have conquered sleep, using the nectar of the gods to eschew our mortal requirements. Coffee. Shiver loves it. Nighthawk loves it. Miss Hartz loves it. And I am about to drown myself in it. Welcome to the relay station. Yep, we're done. See you later. What? 1 second. It's got me. What the hell? They got my soliloquy. Properties? Done. Okay, that's what.
I knew it was one of those K words.
One of those K words.
Some things. Every time Streamlabs OBS updates itself, it kind of flops things around. But it's okay. You heard me and my soliloquy, so now the guests are here. Hi, guests. Okay, so everyone, welcome to the relay station. It's going to be a hell of a station today. You all know Shiver. You suffer through him and I every week. You poor
Sorry,
souls.
everyone.
Yeah. But
That didn't work.
this is the first time that two of our guests have been on the station, I believe.
My first
I've been
time.
on the station.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no remembrance of this recollection.
In
Regardless.
fact, I think I made you leave the room several times.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right. I probably just blocked it out of my mind.
Probably.
So, Ms.
Not a bad
Hartz,
episode.
welcome back. How you doing?
Pretty good. I am dog sitting, so you'll see another guest here every once in a while.
Puppy. And Nighthawk.
I love it. Yes.
Welcome to the relay station.
Thank you very much. It's I'm very excited to be here. It's been a long time coming.
It has
And
been a
with-
long time coming, actually. It's a funny
Yeah.
story.
Pretty funny. Yeah.
When did I first invite you on? Like,
CitizenCon 2016.
yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
For anyone wondering what the hell's wrong with relay, it took me about a year and a half to get you on. It's not too bad.
Real life too on my end. So
Well, on everyone's end, yeah. So, who are you, and what do you do in Star Citizen? Because you've never been on before. You've been on the station, or no, the pub. God, you talk. I'm gonna.
the table
You're
of the
doing awesome
captains.
today, Eris.
Yeah. More coffee. Oh, my name is
that's the
Nighthawk
problem.
Zale. I doubt it. It's probably the cocaine in the coffee. So my name is Nighthawk Zale. I used to be a regular streamer for Star Citizen. I streamed 6 days a week, and one of the things I was most known for in the community was designing and crafting a tabletop game themed around Star Citizen called Traverse the Verse. Although I can't take full credit, Engineer 3D helped me out with some of the artwork. Phenomenal artwork. Love you. These days, I'm mostly found on Twitter, and in my organization, we do a lot of stuff. Well, we used to do a lot of stuff. I don't really want to go into my real life stuff, but that's been I've been really preoccupied with real life lately, so I'm really struggling to work my way back into active streaming, being more involved in the community outside of just my organization and Twitter. But we're making it work. School starts in what 3 days. Once
3
school
days?
starts, I think I'll be. Yeah, it's really weird. School here is
That means
starting
traffic's
earlier
gonna
than
be
usual.
We don't start till September. That's like
I know. We used to start in September as well, and for some reason this year they're starting August 14th. I'm mind boggled by
That's
it, but hey,
really
if it gets
weird.
the kids out of the house quicker, then more stream time for me.
excellent. Well, it's it'll be good to have you back around a bit more in the community, hopefully, because you've been sort of paragon around always. So it's good to have you back.
Paragon. I've never heard that word used for me before.
I
Heard
it's-
other words starting with P, but not paragon.
I thought you were going to take it the renegade route, but no, you made it your own. Well done.
I was about to try and think of other P words, but
There are quite a few. I don't have a thesaurus handy, but
Paratrooper. Penguin.
it's a good one.
Parentheses.
proxy.
Actually, we have used.
Prawn. I do freaking prawn. That was a terrible South
Proletariat.
African. I'm sorry.
Yes, I've heard all
Parfait.
those words. They are fancy.
You've got
Philanthropist.
layers like a parfait. Okay. Oh my god.
God.
Perfect.
That's a
No,
good
not
one.
that one. That's a new one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Ms. Hartz, what have you been up to when it comes to Star Citizen lately?
Not as much as I should be.
Sounds about right.
I haven't been streaming really lately. I've taken a hiatus. I have other projects in the works though. And yeah, that's about it. I got
Cool.
nothing.
Are
No,
you sponsored
that's-
tonight by the Velvet Taco?
So last week I found out that there is a restaurant in Austin called the Velvet Taco.
Have you eaten there?
Not yet.
She's
Not
eating
that
out.
restaurant.
So I think it's now time for us to turn our attention over to that which brings us all together, to some Star Citizen, because yeah.
And that's it for this week, everybody. Thank you for coming by. We hope you enjoyed yourselves.
So I don't even really. I've been out of it this week completely and barely even know what
Turret
happened.
fixes. Friggin'
Yeah.
motherfucking turret fixes are coming.
But
Motherfucker,
Yeah.
about fucking
Freaking
time.
goodness.
Jesus
Yeah.
I'm
Christ, you know
excited
how
for
hard
that.
it is to use fucking turrets as it is? I mean, it's not like there's other games out there that have ever had fucking turrets. Oh, no. Let's do our own fucking thing and move the mouse, and then 3 minutes later, your fucking turret catches up with you. That's a great idea in a reaction-based shooter. Yeah! I mean, they're putting the fixes in now, so I'm pleased.
I mean, if you take a Dramamine, it makes it a lot better.
Am I the only person who basically just this entire time had completely forgotten that turrets were even a thing?
Yes.
No,
Yeah, because no one
actually,
uses them because they're terrible.
well, I think it was back in 2.2.
ESP isn't fixed.
There for a short period there, you could actually control the turrets pretty well using flight sticks. You just had to really take your time binding all the appropriate keys to there. And it was the one and only time I had a good turret experience. And then for some reason, 236 came along and broke it all over again.
So the thing with turrets, even when in their best times, for turrets to be effective, they have to be easier to use than the ship guns.
Sorry, I wanted to play that GIF because it's fun.
Oh, that eclipse ramp was amazing.
Yes, it's so good.
I'm so glad they shared that because I completely missed it.
Yes, it's It is glorious, just absolutely glorious.
Mhm.
Sorry, yes, turrets. Right, sorry, distracted.
Turrets shouldn't give you Tourette's when you're using them.
I don't know.
That is a good point.
New slogan.
You are all much better at flying than I am. And part of my problem is, like, anytime there's talk about fixing flight or turrets or guns and stuff. Also, thanks, Jack. Anytime there's talk about fixing ESP or the flight model or the turrets or the gun, I don't know what to say, because I'm like, I can't hit things regardless and never will. So I sit here being like, I guess turrets are a good thing. Do you guys like plan on having people in your ships a lot to fly the turrets?
So this is for you, Eris.
Okay.
This is
Something for
why
me.
I say that turrets need to be easier to use than ship guns. Because when you're in a turret, all you're doing is focusing on shooting. So you don't have to care about the flight. You don't have to care about whether or not you're good. You point and you shoot. That's the point of a turret?
Right. But turrets are really limited, right? Because, like, I don't know. I feel like turrets are really built up in a lot of, like, movies and stuff. And, like, you've got these ships flying by and the turrets take them out and they're great. And then I look at it in real life and it's like, well, unless you've got, like, 14 turrets and a person in each one of them, there's so much blind spot for each turret that I don't know. I'm going to shut up now. If someone else.
Well, no, I mean, you are kind of onto something. It really is a little more than just point and shoot, because you have to have an appropriate understanding of communication. If the turret gunner isn't properly communicating with the other turret gunners and with the pilot, then the ship is never going to be able to move all of the necessary turrets within range of their targets.
Yeah, and
So
that's a
it's-
big deal about having a good pilot, too, who's aware of where the turrets are and giving them the best shot.
Yeah.
Because
That's why
The smaller your ship is, the more sensitive you are. So, say the Hurricane relies, really, its firepower is the turret guy. And
Yeah.
you need to have someone who's flying and on the turret who can work really well together. Because if you stick someone who's going to fly like a literal fly, the turret guy is going to have a bad time.
Yeah, and the best example of this would be the Retaliator. The pilot has absolutely no guns to work with. It's all turrets or nothing, and communication is going to be everything. So, to be honest with you, I'm a little more excited at what they're talking about with the new VoIP and FOIP features coming in than I am about the turret updates. Because without healthy communication in game, turrets are still going to be bunk. So you got to get something else in place to support that first.
I also
much more so than the tank and the gunner in Battlefield.
yeah.
You know, your
Yeah.
tank guy can be relatively insane and just keep going for it, and the gunner's going to be relatively independent. Oh shit, there's a tank in front of me. Okay, but this time you're going to actually have to communicate. You know, I've got enemies incoming on the right side. Turret people will have to communicate with other turret people as well as the pilot.
Now, watching the little bit from ATV where they're showing off the turrets, it's what's playing right now. Does anyone else find that? I mean, the turrets look like they move a lot better, but just watching this one makes me sick a little bit.
Like I said, you need Dramamine.
Yeah.
And that ship isn't even moving, and it's making me a little bit sick. And two, the shield effects hitting right over top of the turret and obscuring the turret 90% of the time, like obscuring the turret's view.
I think that's a
I mean-
problem with shield effects in general.
Yes. And I feel like it's made more evident when you're not stuck just looking forward, when you can look all around and all around you is this blue haze.
But at the same time, this is the future. You have a heads-up display. You don't always have to be VFR with your turrets. You can rely on your instruments to have that heads-up display tracking the target, so you can still keep on target even through all the obscuration obscurities,
Stick on
abnormalities. I don't know.
Shit in front of the screen.
Yes. Okay, here's my next question, and this one's a little bit different. Speaking of questions, if anyone has questions, throw them in chat because we're going to need them later, or I'm going to sing show tunes. So, right now, like, travel times between places take a while, right? Like, it takes a while to get from anywhere in the 4 moons to another one of those 4 moons. And it's going to take even longer when we open the game up more. And there's already not that much for someone to do while piloting. They at least get to pilot. How important is it for them to get something else for turret gunners to do you think? I'm going to start with Nighthawk.
Honestly, I don't really think turret gunners should have anything else to do. I mean, on larger ships, you know, it would make sense if maybe like Star Trek style, you had security officers that were designated to patrol certain areas of the ship, and their primary function was combat support, right? So if you're in flight, in combat, they're going to be the ones running to the turrets. And then if you're being boarded, turrets don't necessarily matter anymore, so they can double down, get back on the deck, and repel boarders. But on smaller ships, you know, something like a Cutlass, it would be interesting to see, I don't know, the engineer or person in charge of the cargo hold having to hustle into the turret just to support the flight crew. But honestly, there really shouldn't be too much with turrets. It's like Miss Hartz was saying, point and click. You don't really need to be in charge of your own energy. You don't really need to worry about the other operations aboard ship if you're trying to keep the ship alive.
What do you think, Ms. Hartz?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it'll be a to your battle stations type thing. So anything that turret gunners need to be doing when traveling is the options available to anyone when traveling. So it could be anything from, you know, managing economy or playing pool or board games, or there's going to be a whole bunch of things, hopefully, eventually, that you can do while traveling. So I think a turret gunner is just another crew member.
Shiver, how much am I going to have to pay you to man my turret?
Are you assuming my gender?
What?
That was not the question I was expecting you to ask me, to be honest with you.
Sorry.
But I really like Nighthawk's idea of, you know, have these people who are going to be in the turrets when they're not, you know, when you're in Quantum or when you're doing these long travels, have them patrol the corridors or whatever. That's actually a really bloody good idea. I was just going to say something stupid like Gallagher on the panel.
Yeah, it really does depend on the ship, though.
So here's my question, and I'm going to take us out of show and tell a bit because that one video of turrets is getting a bit old. I'm going to hypothetically bring Paul into this, the Astropub Paul. He has a nice big ship. It's a, you know what? Let's say he's got a Hammerhead.
No turrets there.
True. Totally true. None at all. Wait. Now you confused me.
It has a lot of turrets.
I'm too tired to question.
It's nothing but turrets.
I'm too tired to question my own sanity right now.
Stop. Take a drink of the coffee.
Coffee.
By the way, those damage they showed off for the Hammerhead was amazing. I really I appreciated them.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Better now?
Yeah. Paul has a Hammerhead. He's got about 500 turret spots to fill. How many of them are going to be filled with actual human beings like, are any of you... Paul's going to put out a thing being like, hey, can some people come and man my turrets? And Shiver's going to make a crude joke. And everyone else is going to be like, no, I'm going to go fly my ship. Like, are we actually going to get many people wanting to turret other people's turrets?
That's part of why I say it needs to be easy.
Yeah,
because people will want to do it as, you know, you get to point and kill stuff. And that has an appeal to turrets.
Right.
And that's why people would want to turret something as opposed to hopping in their own ship.
Okay.
Everyone's got different interests. You put out a contract, you want to crew your ship, people, you will pay them to man the turrets, people will come. It's the equivalent of pickup groups for Star Citizen. Or you've got large and relatively small corporations, as long as they're friends, they can just man each other's ships.
But you still have to find people who are willing to do almost nothing else but point and shoot.
And you have to be like, you have to give
heard of
them
EVE
something to
Online? They have this thing called mining there, and people love that. So I'm sure there'll be a larger demand for the turrets because you actually have to move your mouse for that one.
Yeah, that's true. But then, I mean, it falls back to the previous question of what do they do when they're not having to actively man turrets? You know, are you going to have other jobs on board ship for them to conduct? Otherwise, why are they going to want to come aboard? They're going to sit around. If and when they need to, they'll point and click, and when that's done and over with, they get a cut. If they're okay with that, and I'm sure there are plenty of people who are okay with that, that's all right. But I think there has to be more to it.
Now, one of the things is I always thought that might be a really good way for people without ships to make some money and move towards having a ship, right? But I mean, let's be honest here. It sort of seems like everyone who's heard of Star Citizen has multiple Star Citizen ships now. Do you think that manning someone else's turret is going to pay well enough? Like, it's going to have to pay essentially better than doing something on your own, right? Do you think that someone who has a hammerhead will be able to make enough money off it to pay the turret people well enough that it's worth their time to turret rather than something else?
I mean, we're kind of staying credit-minded right now, but we also have to consider the other aspects of pay, in that you're developing a social network in which you also have a reputation, and the better you further that reputation with a group of people that you want to continue to play with, I think the more that's going to have an impact on you overall. You know, it's great that you have the credits, and it's great that you can fund the maintenance and future operations of a starship, but if you don't have the people to do that with, then I think you're wasting your time. So we have to consider that as well.
What do you think, Ms. Hartz?
Well, and when he said social aspect, actually the first place my mind went is real life social aspect. Because if you're turreting a friend's ship, you're all sitting around shooting the shit until a flight comes.
And then you shoot shit.
And then you shoot shit. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of like hanging out with your friends until you engage with the game.
I kind of have a word. Shiver, help me.
Drink more coffee.
Correlation?
Correlation.
Correlating story. So
Related.
I'm just gonna skip whatever it is because I don't know what it is, and I'm just gonna jump into it because that's simpler at this point. So you all know of PUBG. Everyone knows of PUBG. I hate PUBG. Really don't like it anymore. I really liked it for the longest time. Now they have keys to buy loot crates, and I think that is absolutely disgusting for a game that you had to pay full price to buy on your own. But that's a side topic. One of the things that I've noticed about PUBG is You load into a match with a bunch of friends. You land, you loot some more, and then you die. And then you load into another match. You land, you run around grabbing loot, and then you die, and then you do it over and over and over and over again with very few actual, like, combat encounters. Like, you'll play a game and you might get a couple shots off, and then you all wipe, and then we're not very good, but that kind of, my friends love that, and they're more into it for the hanging out and talking and stupid shit. And maybe that is what it's going to have to come to for turrets. And if you've got the people to do that with, then yeah, you're all in a, retaliator dicking around. You've got a couple people on turrets, and you go start some shit, and it's fun. And then if you're not, we're going to need the AI, right? But yeah, maybe
so what you're saying is just offer extras.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't get it. I'm sure there's a joke.
There's a happy ending.
I don't get it, but yes, that's what I'm saying.
I do have one other point. If you're relating it to PUBG, and yeah, you're not really doing a whole lot. It's like PUBG, but with explosions.
And it's a good game and has good graphics and isn't a piece of shit. So, yeah.
But if you're a turret gunner, you get to see more explosions.
It's true.
That is true.
Like Jack Avalon's pointed out, this doesn't apply to every ship, but for example, there is a pool table on the Polaris and a hot tub in the Phoenix.
Yeah. So actually, the video that's playing right now is a bunch of people driving. It's kind of cool just seeing people drive willy-nilly where they want to go. But where is it? Here, this. I would think this is what I wanted to show. I think. I'm hoping it's gonna start shortly, but yes, there it is. How do you guys think that this environment looks? Because goddamn.
Referring to the out-of-city Hurston biome?
Yes.
I'm actually really intrigued by it.
Right there. The storm with the particle effect. Like last week, they showed us a bunch of little pieces of paper floating around, and it looked okay. That's fine. And then this week, that's the foliage and the trees and the sorry, yeah. Nighthawk.
I'm also really happy there's meteorology in it. Storms are fun.
So I'm excited for it because we haven't seen this kind of stuff in Star Citizen yet, and I'm really looking forward to exploring something that's not just oh look, a pile of rocks. Oh look, a pile of rocks. And
hey, look at that
dead
rock
pumpkins.
over there.
Pile of rocks. Yeah, it's going to be really nice, but I'm hoping to find more than just a bunch of trees and bushes out there. Like I would really like to find some kind of fauna, either hostile or otherwise. But it would be really intriguing to go out there and see that as nasty and overrun and beat down as Hurston looks in the city, the further away you get from the city, the more natural it becomes. And it's a wonderful thing to finally have something to explore, right?
Yeah.
The weather patterns, that I'm not so hyped about yet, because without having it affecting the flight model of ships when you're trying to get to these locations, it's just a show.
Yeah,
I think it is supposed to, right?
Yeah. Eventually, this new flight model that they're working on, they said is going to be really easy for them to plug in the localized meteorology, the weather patterns and everything, and it will affect your ships. But until they can actually drop that new flight model, it's just really pretty effects.
And
to me.
And I like that people in chat are talking about meteorology, and there could be a meteorologist profession, and that's really cool because we could have that on planets, but remember, we could also have that in space.
In space.
They have said
Absolutely.
that there will be anomalies in space that you could have, like, that's what science is going to be about, right? It's going to be tracking anomalies and
Completely.
like, don't go here because, you know, this entire area is a warning because there's a lightning storm in space.
And
Dude,
science.
speaking
Give me a really good bad
Yeah.
idea.
Speaking of, in the vertical slice for Squadron 42 that they showed last year,
Yeah.
they were flying through a lightning storm in space.
Yes.
And they were completely unaffected by it. And you know, it was amazing to look at, but unless you really have to have the skill to make your way through that, and you can figure out, okay, well, there was a lightning strike there, and I'm seeing a buildup of ionic particles over here, and I need to move this way to keep away because I know the next strike is coming there. Like, they really want this game to be immersive and dependent on strategy, making good choices versus bad choices. That's definitely something that we see, not just on the ground, but absolutely in space too. Yeah.
And science is supposed to be a profession.
Yep.
So
I thought it was just a hobby.
So that opens up a whole lot of things, because part of the question is, how is it going to be a profession? And that is one of the ways that it can be applicable.
I thought science was a theory.
It's everything you want it to be.
And yes, Ghost 104, you are right. Their sensors and their displays were in fact affected by the storm.
Yeah.
But that was the extent of it. It wasn't like they had to decide to go left, right. They could just keep following a straight line through the storm. And no matter how close one of those lightning strikes hit, it was just the displays that kind of buggered out for a minute, and then you were good again. Like, there has to be more of an impact, not only on the ship, but on the persons inside those ships.
Now, one thing I did want to mention is we have been talking a little bit about how we kind of wish there was more fauna rather than flora. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be, but I seem to remember we've only actually still seen 2 instances of fauna in-game. One is the giant space worm, and one is the little balloon thing that they shot.
From Halo,
Connie
yes.
commercial.
What?
Connie commercial.
Yeah, they had those funky grays that were like...
In-game, though.
Not counting the aquarium.
Yeah.
But technically, we haven't even seen those in-game yet. Those were just demos.
True.
You know, I mean, and at that level, if you wanted to, you can include the space whale, you can include the crotch spider and the crotch dog, and like a whole bunch of others. Like,
Disco.
I'm really excited for a lot that they show on ATV. I'm really excited for all this improvement on the biomes and the procedural stuff, and they're doing great work in space and great work with ships and great work with procedural environments and buildings and everything else. And I would really like to see whether or not they're looking into procedural animals. Now, we know how procedural fauna can turn out in something like No Man's Sky, but are they going to be doing procedural fauna for Star Citizen of, like, maybe even most life on a planet that has life kind of all sprung from the same procedural set? So it's all slightly related. So you've got a planet that supports slug life, and everything sort of maneuvers based on, like, they've all got slug getting around. Like, here on Earth, most things have legs, unless you're a bird or a jellyfish.
birds have legs.
You mean unless you're a snake?
Snakes have legs.
Or a snail.
Fish.
Snakes have vestigial microscopic legs.
They have less legs than birds do.
They've got more legs than Fast Car.
Where is Pascal?
Thankfully not here. Actually, no, he'd love that one.
Thankfully,
No,
he would have
he
made
would
that
love
joke.
that.
He would
in a
have loved that.
flash.
That would be clipped
Yeah.
in a second. Props to Fast Cart.
Love you, Fast Card.
Yeah.
We miss you.
So yeah, what do you like? Do you guys hope that they actually do some procedural generation of fauna, or do you want it all to be handcrafted and unique? Ms. Hartz, let's start with you.
That's debatable because it would also be cool if the fauna is plausible in that atmosphere. And I think that takes a lot more thought than a procedural generator can do. But at the same time, I think we'll get more fauna and more instances of fauna if it's easier to make.
Do you think that they'll do kind of what they've been doing with other things of procedurally making it and then having people double check it?
Probably.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that's the current state of the pipeline. It seems to be working for them. And as they refine that particular pipeline model, I think we're going to see it a lot more in not just like procedural planets, but we're going to see that in procedural cities. And I think we're even going to see that in the procedural fauna as well. I don't think that there's going to be any one aspect of procedural generation that they don't put hands on for one reason or another, you know, because then it really is just another No Man's Sky, and they don't want it to be like that.
That's true.
They want to make sure that it reflects the locale in a very interesting and unique way. So I wouldn't be surprised if they came up with some basic designs for different forms of legs, different forms of wings, different forms of abdomens, torsos, heads, and then they just sort of mixed them up procedurally and went back in and were like, well, you know, this doesn't really look right. Let's change this. And they're going to redraw the lining for the wing frames, and they might go back and change the color schemes. But generally speaking, I think in the long term, it's going to be much like they do procedural generation for everything else.
The downside to that is I think it's going to be unrealistic. And I think that's just, we're going to have to suspend disbelief for that. So you're going to have, creatures with long legs on a planet with high gravity that just probably wouldn't work out that way.
That's something I actually wanted to touch on, because one thing that I'm thinking they could do is, I mean, they'll make all these different like long legs or slug get along or wings, or like get all of these different characteristics of animals, and then set the characteristics to be specific to planets. So low gravity planets have a higher likelihood of these characteristics in their procedural fauna, where, right? Like, I mean, we've got 100 system, we've got hundreds of planets. Not all of them have life, but many of them should. I kind of like the idea of, okay, so we've got all these low gravity planets. They all kind of evolve similar creatures. All the Earth gravity planets evolve similar. Heavy gravity planets evolve things without legs because legs break in heavy gravity, right? Like, so they've your planet characteristics, like, kind of, there's a word there. I forgot it again.
Eris broke again.
Oh, I'm broken. Shiver.
Coffee break.
Yeah, just someone.
It's all that cocaine you've been
Can
taking.
I be real here for a second? Okay.
See, all it takes is a drink of coffee.
It's been a long time since I stayed up all night playing a goddamn video game. And fuck Monster Hunter World, because I stayed up all night playing Monster Hunter World, and now I'm really fucking tired. But I don't care, because that game's really fucking good. And I want to be playing it right now, and I can't, and it's killing me, and I just want to hunt a Rathian, okay?
So is it kind of like Pokemon Go?
Yes! Exactly! I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to both Ms. Hartz and Nighthawk. I've wanted both of you on for a long time. And you just happened to get this, Eris, and I'm sorry. You get the barely connected, unable to process thought.
Has anyone noticed any difference?
Not really, no. Yeah.
I was going to say, that's okay, because it's just more time for us to hang out with Shiv.
Wait,
Just
do that.
hug your
It's that
coffee,
bad.
bro. It's all good.
Okay, so we talked about the Hammerhead. They showed some. I think this is the Hammerhead stuff showing, right?
The new damage states for the Hammerhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really liked them. I thought they looked really nice. I feel really bad for the engineer who has to go into that open flame in space and try and, fix things.
I really like that open flame because, and they haven't talked about this much for a long friggin' time, actually. But remember way back, they were showing us a bit about the Idris and how they were designing the uniforms for different jobs in the Idris. And one of the jobs was the fireman. And
Yes.
like, those firemen have to have specific uniforms. And this reminded me of that. It's like, okay, we've got this open flame and the engineers are going to have to be wearing like fireman suits to go and try and fix that. Otherwise, they're going to burn to death. That's cool. And you're going to have a bunch of different suits and a bunch of different, like, change out of your, oh, I'm wearing my civvies and stuff blew
There's no
up.
fucking pole. It's a waste. On the goddamn fireman's pole.
Fireman's pole in
Oh,
space.
there'll be plenty of poles.
I actually, if you remember the concept designs that they were going through, I think it was Omar Oweda who was working on all the various helmet designs.
Yes.
And he did the first concepts for the fireman's helmet. And I thought it was really strange that so many helmets in Star Citizen already are completely enclosed, pardon me. And the fireman's helmet, it kind of looked like a modern day fireman's helmet with like this combat goggle thing over it and just a chin strap. And I'm like, they're going to be fighting fires, probably in
Exposed
conditions
fire.
where initial fire suppression systems are no longer operating. So they're going to be using hand tools, fire extinguishers to try and bust
on the
down those
fire.
fires. Yeah. So wouldn't you at least give them like a fully closed helmet? Just in case, space decides to swallow the fire and them along with it.
You'd think that, but there might actually also be a point to that, because if it was a fire that space could swallow, there wouldn't be a fire, right? Because there'd be no oxygen, and you can't have fire without oxygen. So maybe they'll only fight fires on interiors, in which case, honestly, they should really just have a full face mask anyway, because it's a fucking fire.
Yeah, because, they're taking into account things like oxygen content, and if the fire is consuming the oxygen, you're breathing in a ton of ash and who knows what else that's left in the atmosphere. So you got to have some way of surviving this combat scenario.
I'm kind of in favor of it because there's that old saying, you fight fire with fire, and all these firemen did fighting fire with fire was make the fire worse, so they're fired.
I hate you, Shiver. So the Phoenix has a hideable hot tub.
I like that a lot better than the one that was stuck in the middle of the room before.
I don't like it because it seems like there's only 5 seats, which means that there's one person there that's the like the third wheel or the fifth wheel.
Capacity of 10.
You share a seat.
Yeah.
Isn't that the point of a hot tub?
Now, I do want to point something out.
That's what he
still don't
said.
we still don't have playable female care, so it's going to be sausage boiling.
We also
party.
don't have water. I noticed that there's no water in
Oh,
this
that's
hot
true.
tub
We don't have
because we
water.
don't have water. Okay.
So really, it's just going to be a bunch of men sitting around naked.
We could get
Sounds like
load of
Thursday
rocks.
I was going to say
Get load of
Tuesday.
rocks and put them in there.
Fill
Be
it with
a hot
rocks.
tub.
Yeah, a rock
There you
tub.
go.
Now, I think this week Lando said something about Baller, and I just want to point out. That Lando went to Twitter to crowdsource where he said Baller at any point, and just throwing it out there. But
But it was Josh Coons that was saying it.
yeah, Yeah, but he was looking for where Josh Coons in history had said baller, because there have been because there have been so many episodes with Josh Coons. Where's one that he said baller? There's this site that I found online, because the internet has everything. I think it's called like Replay or.
Does it have like transcripts?
Yeah, and they've also got a search function.
Yeah.
They've got a search function at the top right that you can click on, and you type in baller, and it actually finds the exact episode where he said baller.
So what Wikipedia is this?
You're indirectly trying to tell this to Disco Lando, who's actually clearly unaware of the existence of this site, which means by knock-on effect, he's unaware of this podcast, so he wouldn't have be hearing you say that to him anyway. And besides the fact, even if he did hear you, he'd just go, for fuck's sake.
Yes, but shut up, sure. Last thing before we get to questions, new chatty stuff in game. Looks good.
Well, I mean, for Tier 0, I definitely think it looks good. I think they're focused more on the functionality of it versus the actual look of it, and that is where I think it's most important, and what they really do need to be focusing on is functionality. Because it seems like they're planning on dropping both VoIP and FOIP simultaneously. I don't have an issue with it. I've had the opportunity to go to one of these tech shows here in LA and hands-on with the faceware tech in a Star Citizen demo, and it was really a lot of fun. I mean, it took literally 1 second for that thing to calibrate when I pushed the button, and it was pretty almost scary accurate. It does something, I think they said 50 or 60 points of tracking on the face. And I love what they were showing. Was it this past week? No, the week before, where you can do with the glasses or without the glasses.
That's what I was about to ask.
When I did the demo, the glasses were still an issue. So I had to take off my glasses, play around with it. But it's really nice to see that they're working that problem finally. Because I know there are a lot of people who sit in front of the camera with glasses on.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there are a couple. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to do a good job of helping organizations to get beyond the simplicity of the current party system and really start working like multi-crew, or rather multi-ship, large crew operation. And I think that's what a lot of us are waiting for.
It makes organizations relevant.
I want to tell another quick story here because it's slightly relevant to this. So one of the problems with, also, guys should ask some more questions. We don't really have that many. So one of the problems with being an organization tracking everything in Star Citizen for as long as Relay/INN have been is we've been waiting for the ability to do certain things for a long time. Now, very, very early in INN's existence, before Relay was a thing, one of the things was running the news.
Okay, officially not a
yeah,
quick
I know.
question.
I'm not quick at all. I take my time. But doing things like this, doing the podcast in game, and one of my biggest reasons of no, we're not going to do that was I hate, like, okay, we'll be sitting there talking, and then you want to nod your head, and you have to, like, move your mouse, look down, look up, and you've got, like, 3 things you can do. You can go yes, no, and you can sort of jump in place, right? That's it. That's all the expression you can get.
Sounds like a rehearsal for Baywatch.
Miss Hartz isn't part of our team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not the one jumping here.
Yeah.
Give it time.
Is there... Never mind.
Yeah. So, but I never wanted to do that because I thought it would be really crappy. But with face tracking, that might be something to do. Like actually have podcasts and do news live in verse with me doing all my expressions, because I'm a stupid person with an expressive face, and it capturing at least some of them would make it feel a lot more real. And then you could relay that throughout the verse as news and be a weatherman reporting the weather and pointing at things. And they need arm tracking because wait.
Honestly, the thing I'm looking forward to most with the FOIP is people forgetting that it's turned on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be great.
So, let's get to some questions. We've only got 6, so if anyone would like to ask us some more questions, you really should, because otherwise I'm going to sing. What's that?
You have to sing?
I'm going to sing some Rammstein.
Where's the mute on this thing? Okay, go.
No. If they don't ask questions. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a threat. I have to threaten people to get questions. It's because we're a shitty podcast that no one watches. So, questions. Agent 121370 says, just found out that Matt Sherman left CIG. Do you guys know why? So there's this thing about being at a company, not a company, but there's this thing about being at a game development company for multiple years, in that very, very few people stay at a game dev company for more than 3, 4, 5 years. Because as companies finish the things that people are working on, those people move to find other jobs. It's just the way the game industry works. It's actually terrible. It's something that I really feel bad for a lot of people in game dev, because they've got, a job for a couple of years, and then they have to find some other game that will be doing something that they can help with, and it's constant, and it sucks. But most of the people that leave CIG leave either because the thing that they were working on is done, or because they're offered something better. Lisa Ohanian left CIG to go and make fucking God of War. Okay? I mean, Star Citizen's pretty fucking fantastic. I can't wait for it. But fucking God of War.
Is that the next version that's coming out?
No, that's the porn parody.
Oh, okay.
Shiver's starring in it.
2 minutes long.
So glad I don't play God of War.
No, and being honest, God of War is a phenomenal game. It sucks that it's only on console, but it is one of the best games I think I've ever played. So, yeah, people move on. People don't always stick with the same project forever, because there's other things. There are other fish to fry. There's other places to go and do amazing things.
And I have to say that it's not uncommon in the entertainment industry as a whole. There is no one artist or creator or entertainer who stays with the same company for years upon years upon years. I mean, film. I used to work in film, and I can't tell you how many contracts I went through, how many different companies I worked with, how many different projects I was involved with, and every single time it was a new cast, a new crew, a new leadership. It's just part of the game, and it really is kind of sad, because you develop these working relationships with people, and you learn, for lack of better vernacular, you learn how to flow through the work that's given to you. And I think probably one of the only companies I know of within gaming that has good retention is Blizzard.
Yeah.
And that's actually reflective of their culture within the company.
But at the same time, look at how many people who work on Star Citizen came from Blizzard.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not to say that the Cloud Imperium isn't unique in that, but there's only so far that you can go with a particular company, and as the company grows, you want to grow with it. But if there's no room for you to grow, then you have to find that growth elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just what it is.
One other thing that before we move on to the next question that I want to throw out really quick is that there are no other game companies, period, that we know people as well as we know with CIG. Most game companies, you know a couple people, you know the people that run the IPs, maybe know a couple writers, maybe some community people. That is it. No other company has you knowing as many people as CIG.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why it impacts the community so much when we hear about people like Darian Vorlik or Matt Sherman or Lisa Ohanian or Omar Ueda, freaking. There are a bunch of people who we got really familiar with through the years who just have moved on because it's for themselves what they need to do.
Yep.
You know, we don't know what their IRL situation is. We just know that they're working on this project. They're a rock star because they're on the camera. That everyone a lot of people have the opportunity to be on camera here at CIG, and most other companies don't afford their personnel that kind of an opportunity. It's really unique.
Yep. Next question, also from Agent 121370. What do you guys think is going to be the big reveal at CitizenCon this year? Let's do a round table.
Spaceship.
Nighthawk, biggest reveal at CitizenCon.
I mean, we know they're probably going to show off some new starship. Don't know if it's going to be another combat ship, or I'm hoping that they keep doing what they've been doing all year with new professions with each ship. I don't really know how much they're going to show us that we don't already expect to see. We have a pretty good idea that we're going to be seeing stuff for 3.3. We might be seeing something for Squadron 42, but I'm like 2% expecting that. I know Chris Roberts is going to talk to us.
I kind of don't want to see Squadron 42 stuff.
Really?
No, really?
I don't. I want to stay in the dark about it as long as possible because I want to experience it as I play it.
I mean, I have to.
I don't know how much that's going to happen because there's a lot of people who do want to see it, but
I definitely don't want to see a new vertical slice for Squadron 42. You know, that was about as much story as I'm willing to be exposed to. But I am curious what they're working on with Squadron 42, because whatever they've been working on that they've been showing us has been focused solely on the PU, on the Star Citizen experience. And I know that there are things that are in development that they've been working on for who knows how long that support directly Squadron 42. And I'd like to know more about those. You know, when in the vertical slice, we finally saw the paw tool in action. And that's a really small thing, but that's, in my mind, a big deal. It's a piece of equipment that we're going to have in our hands that isn't a gun. And I'd like to see what else, you know, that they might be developing that supports Squadron 42 and in turn also supports the PU that maybe they haven't really talked about much.
Shiver.
I'm NDA.
Ms. Hartz.
I was going to say the same thing.
Well, fuck you both. I was going to say the Squadron 42 roadmap.
Well, didn't Chris say that wouldn't be this year? Or maybe it was Disco. I remember someone saying that's probably not going to be this year.
I mean, they did say that when they do the roadmap for Squadron 42, it's going to be a year out from release.
Yeah. So I'm really hoping that Squadron 42 is a year out from October this year. I'm really hoping it's a 2019 thing. Yeah. Agent 121,370 asks, is modularity for ships like the Carrack, Caterpillar, and Retaliator still a thing? Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Lego Robot Dude asks, hey Lego, thoughts on the 300i rework?
I think they're reworking it.
I think that
personally...
This week they said that they were going to try and slim it down a bit more, right? It had a bit too much expansion.
Love handles.
Thick.
You know, nothing wrong with love handles.
No. But they're just saying, yeah, the 300i has become a little bit longer, a little bit sleeker.
Our
Can hold cargo
only
now.
thoughts on the 300 series euphemistic in nature?
We're talking about spaceships. How many spaceships that have been designed for Star Citizen and other related games look like other things?
2.
That's a pretty stiff question.
The Endeavor was going to look like something, but then they kind of added these rings around it, and it just ruined the whole...
I honestly, when they get around to the Endeavor, I hope they bring out those arms. But with the 300, I'm actually happy that they're finally reworking it. It's one of the only legacy ships that needed a full rework that just hasn't had it yet. And my wife has a 325A, so I'm happy that she's going to finally have a ship that matches what's coming out of the current pipeline. Has a sense of functionality that goes beyond, I'm going to squeeze in through this gull wing door and hope that I can make it all the way up to the front, and then it's going to work. Maybe it's going to work. No.
And this is luxury, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought it was really odd that it's supposed to be a Mercedes-type starship with high-quality end materials. It's supposed to be luxurious, it's supposed to be functional, and you basically have to do the duck walk to get from one end to the other.
Me and my 21 brothers and sisters lived in a cardboard box in middle of road.
Why are you right? Why did you start Scottish and go Russian?
Because I'm really bad at accents.
The name's Jock. Jock Yulinev Vladimir.
It's a problem I have.
No.
Scottish in the streets, Russian in the sheets.
Other way around.
I'm not quite sure what the difference is.
Neither am I.
Either way, there's going to
Scottish
be a
in
lot
the
of
pub
alcohol
and
involved.
a Russian in the morning.
Sorry, Bog Beauty asks, how far do you guys think the new IFCS controls are? Now that JP is left and these decisions don't go over one night of ice, can it be that they made this decision months ago? Maybe even they have a different IFCS in a separate SC build or branch.
So, John
I'll be right
Pritchett
back.
actually talked about that a bit. That he was trying to get the IFCS to a point to pass off before he left. He didn't 100% succeed in that, but I really don't expect them to turn around and overhaul it again now, because his whole point was to get it to a point where he could pass it off.
Right.
Also, ESP needs fixed, and that'll help with the IFCS.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they'll most definitely be on different branches because they're, like we said earlier, they're touching on bringing IFCS into atmospheric flight, so you can tell difference between atmosphere, non-atmosphere, and that's going to need tuning. I think they've handed it off to designers now instead of a coding team.
That I don't remember. But yeah,
I
IFCS, I mean,
dreamt
even
that.
if it were working perfectly, still isn't done because, like you said, we have the atmospheric flight, and that's an a mostly different flight model.
So with Eris's absence, Stainless Steel Rat asks, do you think the SC community are their own worst enemies, sometimes demanding dumb fixes like the Cunny turret and railing every time there's a change? And what do you think the next community will probably be?
Well, with every change, there's always someone who doesn't like it, and someone who writes a whole bunch about it and puts out videos. With every Evocati patch, if there's a leak, when there's a leak,
Yeah.
there's someone who hasn't played it who then complains about it, which it's something that's already being fixed, and that's the whole point of Evocati. Is to put things out there, see if they work, and fix them or change them before it goes onto a public patch.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's going to be always someone who complains loudly.
I mean, it's with developing a project, and it doesn't even have to be a video game project. It's going to be one of those things that never satisfies everyone. You know, there's always going to be someone who's going to complain about something that didn't meet their own personal expectations. And it's, as an individual, very hard to get inside someone else's head and say, oh, that's what you were thinking. Let's do that. And honestly, if what our expectations are don't match up with what CR has in his head, they're more often than not going to lean his way versus our way.
Guys, I've got a secret. Got a secret for you. Chris is the one that crowdfunded $180 million to make a game, and none of the rest of us did, so he gets to do whatever the fuck he wants. Secret.
Pretty much.
Don't tell anyone else. It's a secret.
Now, all of that being said, CIG lately has really upped their community feedback. There are sections in the forums now for just about every aspect of the game. There are surveys going out as new things are added to the game. There are people at CIG that is actually reading this and turning it into a format for the executives to look at. So community feedback is definitely being heard now. And I think a lot of it is we just have to be patient for them to take that feedback and turn it into something and put it back out to us.
It's not unheard of for a player to be so into something in this and then to point out errors in the flight model that they actually get hired.
Yeah, fact.
And then they turn around and they take that feedback and turn it into surveys and data, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Works well.
Fun fact, and I've said this a million times, and I'll continue saying it. I don't like Star Citizen right now. I don't play it.
I haven't been playing it.
I have a shit ton of faith in it and the people developing it. I really hope it's going to get to a point where it's something that I really enjoy and really like playing. But if it doesn't, I don't feel like I've wasted my money, because they are doing exactly what I gave them my money to do, which is making the game that Chris Roberts wanted to make. Now, maybe Chris Roberts makes a game that he wants to make that it turns out to not be a game that I want to play. That's my fault for giving Chris Roberts my money. That is not his fault, because guess what? He's making the goddamn... Wait, sorry. I'm turning over a new leaf. Guys, he's making the game that he wants to play. He's allowed to do this. It's his job. It's what we've paid him for. It's what we continue to pay him for. And it's why we're all here. I know that this is mind-blowing, but...
Now, in the same style, say you like rusty spoons.
I really like rusty spoons. So, correction, we hamster. It was our money. Then we gave it to him. To Chris. And then it was Chris's money. Or CIG's money. But once we gave our money to them, it was no longer our money. It's like when you take your money and give it to a car dealership for a car, that money is no longer your money. And guess what? The second you drive that car off the lot, it's worth half of what you bought it for. Anyway, I'm just
looking forward to the day when Chris and Sandy are presenting ATV. The green screen falls down, and it turns out they're in their underground volcano there the whole time.
It's being spent on sharks with lasers on their heads.
Everyone apparently asks, where's the roadmap update? We know where it is. It's 1 year prior to the release of Squadron 42.
He means Star Citizen.
Oh,
roadmap
no
update,
fucking
they
clue.
haven't updated it for a couple of
It's in their hands.
Tyler, I think, went on Reddit to say they're not going to update it necessarily every single week unless there's
if nothing changes,
something, right?
Yeah, if nothing changes, why change it? Right?
But
like
you got to play devil's advocate though. I could understand it. Like, look at a progress bar and it stays on 47% for 10 minutes. You're like, is it working? Is it still going? And then suddenly after 10 minutes it goes 97 and you're like, oh shit, excellent.
And then it stays at 97
3
for
minutes,
4
you're there
weeks.
for 3 hours. Yeah. So you can understand anxiety over the roadmap not being updated.
I can understand anxiety over it, but at the same time, you got to remember that this is game development. They've talked about this before, how you've got 14 million lines of code sitting in front of you, and one line somewhere doesn't work, and you have no idea which line it is, but you have 14 million of them that you have to sort through and find the one that somewhere is wrong. And it's like Alien Isolation,
Oh yeah,
where there was
Colonial Marines,
Alien Colonial Marines. Terrible game because there was one typo in the entire game.
No, they fucked up the AI with the aliens because of the typo.
Yeah, because of one typo. Code is
Remember,
not...
kids, spelling is important.
It is, but you don't know what it is, and it might take them... They might sit at 12% for weeks because they're like, how the hell do we solve this? And then suddenly someone's like, fucking chickens. And bam, they know how to synchronize the eyes with the first person and third person model. Because someone thought of chickens. And they go from 0 progress to 100 progress in a day because it's so easy once you figure it out. But it took weeks to figure out.
I mean, it could also be that they're like, well, we know what we need to do for just grabbing stuff out of the OCS to carry on. We know it's not going to be too much of an issue, so we're going to look at these other tasks while that's going on, and we can just put that to the back burner for now, because there was amazing progress on... Was it OCS or Network Binding specifically until recently? I think that probably doesn't help a lot of people, because it's like, they've done this thing, and now suddenly it's not being updated. What the fuck, scam?
Well, I think part of the issue at the core of this is that there's still a large contingent of the community that looks at the roadmap as the holy deadline Bible of Christ Roberts, and it's really important to get all of those people to understand that these are not, in fact, deadlines. These are just in-house expectations, and they're sharing them with us because they want us to know where they are now and where they're expecting to be by a certain point in time. And that's why the roadmap continually changes, and even sometimes why it's delayed in being released or leaked. And I think, I mean, there's definitely no way for all of us to reach out and get everyone on the same page pertaining to an understanding of said roadmap. But there has to be some point where everyone understands that development means just that, constant change. And regardless of what's written, that's never the end statement. Plain and simple.
Do you guys cook at all?
I try not to.
Oh, that sucks. Cooking's fun.
Oh yeah, it's fun, but you know, when the wife claims the kitchen for herself, you stay as far away as you can.
Yes, I in my relationship, I am the one that claimed the kitchen. I do the cooking, but It's like cooking, and you're like,
claim the grill.
This pizza should take 20 minutes, right? You look at the instructions, it says, okay, this should take 20 minutes. Okay, you throw it in, go. 20 minutes later,
Yeah, but
it doesn't look right.
it started off as a cheese.
It's the damn cheese in the middle of the pizza. It always takes forever to melt.
And then you have to turn it on broil, and then you have, like, it's never 100. Nothing is 100% in life. Nothing is certain.
Yeah.
There we go. It's a slow week. Sue
Also,
me.
we're talking, week to week here, and these are people, and it's summer, and kids are supposed to start going back to school, and we just got done with a new patch, and
And God damn
Just
it,
be glad that CIG isn't based in Sweden, because for the entire summer, which is about 2 weeks in Scandinavia, no one works. That is basically as close as you get to an official holiday, because it's summer and there's sun in the sky, and then after like a couple of months of that, they go back to darkness and waiting for Santa.
also keep in mind, many people in CIG work in California, and the entirety of California is currently a forest fire due to climate
We're on
change.
fire.
Yeah, due to climate change. Everyone get a Tesla.
Let me tell you, because I live in Southern California, and one of these insane fires is only a few miles away. Like I keep looking out my kitchen window, and I just see the plumes of smoke. For the last 4 days, it's been snowing ash everywhere, and it's been 100-degree weather or hotter. The winds are constantly blowing, thankfully in the direction away from me, but. It's been a week long that this fire has been going. It started Monday morning, and they're still only 5% contained. It took them, I think, 2.5, 3 weeks to get most of the Mendocino complex up in the San Francisco area under control, and that's the biggest fire in California history. So I think they said something like 16 different wildfires throughout the state just in the last month and a half. It's absolutely insane this summer.
So
I blame Harp.
If people Harper?
Harp?
Harp? I don't get it.
It's a
Anyway,
weather monitoring program in America. That conspiracy theorists say is
Actually, we're not the only ones.
weather
China's got one. Russia's got one. and
Actually, do you want to know what to blame in America? And this is scientifically shown to be what you can't. One of the things that you can blame for forest fires in America, it's motherfucking.
The White House.
No, it's motherfucking Smokey the Bear.
Well, yeah, he's not doing his job anymore.
No.
It's not like he comes out and says,
Smokey the Bear for years said report forest fires and this and that, and we'll clean all the brush and we'll make sure that forest fires don't happen for years and years and years. And the problem is that forest fires are actually a natural thing that needs to happen, and we've stopped them from happening in small. We've stopped them from happening.
Not this
small.
one.
I know.
Well,
That's the
This
problem.
one
We've
outside
stopped
my
them from
window?
being small, so they've started being fucking huge when they happen, because there's 60 years of stopping them from happening.
The problem with this one that's by me right now.
We're going to talk about motherfucking forest fires.
It started in a national forest over by the Holy Jim Canyon at one of the camping sites, and there hasn't been a fire in that area since 1980. And this fire is actually caused by arson. They already caught the guy, 51-year-old psychopath. He's been making threats via email and text messages for several months now. And the volunteer fire chief out in that area is 71 years old. And because of his age, he's been going out to people and saying, hey, we got to do something about this guy. He's threatening arson. And no one's been listening to him.
Yeah.
So it can go beyond that. But yes, they are a natural thing. They do happen every year. My parents' home has burned down almost 3 times in the last 4 years.
Conspiracy theory by the raccoons to make you think it's natural, but it's actually arsonist raccoons.
All that to say,
that's opposable thumbs.
please,
I want to see
in California,
a wildfire.
Stay safe.
Yes, particularly those who are fighting the fires right now. They're the ones who are really having a hard time of it.
Yeah.
But just kind of veering us back towards Star Citizen. I do hope that we get to see wildfires in places like this wild forested biome on Hurston.
Yeah,
because it would be awesome to see a bunch
away, so you no longer have the trees.
Well, no, I mean, we were talking about fire marshals and fire suppression. Like, it would be really cool to see a bunch of people who are interested in that aspect of gameplay having to fight wildfires and not just starship fires. Like, That would be
That's
fun.
true. That would be cool.
Yes, Fire Citizen Act.
Okay, let's get to another question. We've got just a couple more. Stainless Steel Rat asks, seeing as Chris Roberts said there will be hunting in Star Citizen, do you expect to see an illicit trade in space whale peni for exotic medicines or drugs? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What? Am I the only one that heard that question, or did I hear something different?
Space whale peni traded for illicit drug, or the illicit space whale peni drug trade.
That's disgusting. That's horrible. That's a disgusting, horrible practice. Everyone knows you make soup out of the penis.
I thought you swallowed it whole.
You would.
Actually, that's going to be
Only there's your microphone.
one of the end
They
game
could go like
missions
that.
for Chef Disco. He's got to procure a space whale penis, and so he's going to make a stew, sell it to the highest bidder.
Spotted dick.
Oh my god. We are so getting banned. Jack Avalon asks, with the concept of the Pioneer having already happened, do you think that we should be able to build things underground? Should we be allowed to dig down to find minerals or other resources? And would this be too much? So the last time I think we heard CIG talk about underground... Okay, go Shiver.
2 years ago, I spoke with a CIG dev on the exact topic, because it came up when they were building planets, how they couldn't have a cave system technically, but they could have structures underneath planet. There's absolutely no reason for that. So if they do implement, it's because I said, can you put things underground? It's because of me. So if you're ever in like a hamster maze underground, I did that.
So you asked someone at CIG if you could go down.
More than once.
Next question.
Yeah. Last question, so that we can end this horrible charade. Tier 0 Toilet Mechanic asks, so, Hurston Biomes, what's going to be your favorite, and how's the weather over on your side of the planet? I don't know. I don't think I'm going to like Hurston, to be honest.
Why not?
Everyone's going to like it. It's going to be the first real planet that we have. It's going to be the first thing with weather and biomes, and people are going to love it, and people are going to set their
water.
hearts on Hurston, and they're going to stake out places that they want to be on Hurston. Everything's going to revolve around Hurston, and I'm going to be like, man, I want my own little place somewhere far away from people. And I don't
So you're
think
too
Hurston's it.
hipster.
Yeah, I'm way too fucking hipster for Hurston. Hurston's like fucking New York, okay? Or LA. I want out of that. I
always thought of ArcCorp or like LA.
Yeah, I mean, Hurston. I don't even know what Hurston would be, but I don't like Hurston.
I mean, honestly, I'm looking forward to Hurston. I think it's going to be interesting to finally see all the various forms of biomes that they've been developing under the hood, and it will be interesting to see all these different weather patterns and how it's going to affect us. And I mean, I'm kind of with Eris in the sense that it's not going to be my favorite place to go. I'm definitely not going to like it, but why are that?
Because I'm a hipster.
I no longer agree with Eris.
You know why I'm drinking it? Because it's cheap and actually not that bad. Because I can't afford... I mean, no, I've got better beer in the fridge, actually.
Oh, you're just not going to put better beer on because it's us? Oh, I see how it is.
Well, no, it's because I have to drive.
He's
and
sharing the cheap beer.
The good beer is in big cans, right? So, and it tends to be like 6%. And I can only drink some of those. And I'm drinking one of these because it's a small beer and it's only 5%. And I can drink...
because it's made such a fucking difference to the way you've spoken today. Yeah, you had no problems.
Hey, there can be a big difference between 5 and 6%.
It is. I can drive after this, maybe. Guys, it's cheap. Do you know how bloody expensive beer is? Do you know how expensive beer is?
It's cheaper than scotch.
Fucking
It's cheaper
one
than
of these.
cocaine.
Do you know what one of these is? One of these is $3. Okay?
What is it? What?
It's
Does it
just-
at least have some liquid in it for that much money?
Well, I mean, I finished that one last night, but beer's
I love that there is
pricey, okay?
obviously a huge pile of cans behind Eris.
There's a garbage can here that is solely for beer cans.
Nice.
What else am I going to throw in it? I've got to put them somewhere, because if I leave them cluttered on the desk, accidents happen, and leftover beer gets spilt all over keyboards, and then I need new keyboards.
Sounds like a sticky affair.
Smiling Demon, I'm from Ontario, Canada. Yeah, beer's kind of pricey right now. Ghost, I may look like an alcoholic, but I only drink on weekends and when I'm playing games and when there's beer in front of me and when there's beer in the fridge.
Or if the day ends with a Y?
No, there are some days that I don't drink on. I can't think of any of them right now.
Sobriety Awareness Week. Oh, I'll drink to that.
I like to say I'm a lush, not a drunk. There's a difference.
I only drink when I do shows like this.
Understandable.
Yeah. That's you know what? That's going to be it for us for the day. But no, first Shiver, you can be found at the base. Ms. Hartz, those weirdos over at the base often make you show up on their Friday night show.
Yeah,
I'm
they've
sorry.
started kidnapping me,
Yeah,
and
I'm
there may be
sorry.
more plans in the works.
Oh, good. So more Ms. Hartz over at the base. So for all of you interested in Ms. Hartz, and for the two of you creeps interested in Shiver, thebase.sc.
Hi, Harry. Hi, George.
There you go.
By name, no less.
Nighthawk, where can you be found when you're not kidnapped and roped to a chair to be on here?
The easiest place to find me is over Twitter. I do get on Spectrum from time to time, but not usually the general Star Citizen section. I'm very org-centric, and we run our own little section of Spectrum. That's kind of it right now. I'll be working on changing it, though.
Good. Yeah. Please. Spectrum sucks. Mobile first. You can all come back here next Saturday, same time, for more of this crap. If you would like a better show, run by a smarter and better looking person, you should all go watch Paul and the Astropub later. I don't even know who he's got on this week, but you should go watch it anyway, because they have less rules, more drinking, and
I think Nighthawk Zale's on it tonight.
is he?
I am.
Well, there you
You're
go.
doing the podcast marathon.
That is a
I am.
good
Yeah.
bloody marathon.
My family's up in LA for the day, and I have the house to myself, so I figure
Nice.
twitch it up.
Are you
Yes.
wearing
Let's do
anything on the
podcast.
lower half of your body?
If I answered that question, I'm pretty sure you guys would be banned for life.
Yes. There is one thing I will say. So the few people that support us on Patreon, thank you so much to everyone who does support us on Patreon. If you want to, you can. You don't have to. We're going to continue doing it regardless, but we do appreciate it a lot. The people who follow us on Patreon already, or support us on it, already know this, but there's a new show coming from those of us here at Relay. The first episode is going to be in 4 days, on Tuesday the 14th. This is a new show. It's myself and Nakara. It has literally nothing at all to do with Star Citizen. It's going to be space and science. We're going to cover a bunch of space and science topics. You guys suggest topics and we'll cover them. The first topic, this week's episode, is going to be all about SpaceX, where SpaceX started,
Nice.
where it is now, where it's going. We don't actually know what the show is called yet.
Space, the thing between Eris's ears.
There's some there are a bunch of titles floating around. We're not calling it Space Force.
Aw.
Current ideas are like Relay Space or the Relay Space Show or the Theory of Relativity. But Nakar has told me that that is a terrible idea and he hates me for suggesting it.
Space Canucks.
Could be. Anyway, we don't even know really what's going to happen in it. We're kind of playing it by ear, but we will be doing that this Tuesday in the evening. We don't even have an exact time yet because Nakar's on vacation. He's getting back soon and we're going to sort it all out. But if you want to learn more this week about space and SpaceX, join us. You can follow us on Twitter or find us on our Discord if you want to know exactly when that's going to go live, because it should be interesting because, hey, space and science are cool, kids. Stay in school. Yeah, I think I'll start wrapping it up now. I'm sorry for the length of this outro, but hey, it's now 4:00. Thank you, Nighthawk, for putting up with this. Thank you, Ms. Hartz, for putting up with Shiver. Shiver, thank you for being the only thing that keeps me organized.
That's sad.
I know. I know. And thank you to everyone that watched whatever the this was this week. I apologize. Coffee and I are going to go find our special place now. We love you.
Rubbing the coffee bean.
That coffee needs a bow tie.
The coffee does need a bow tie.
Excuse me one moment. Coffee and I are going to
There
go
you
find
go.
our special place.
Now it's believable.
Thank you so much for hanging out and watching. And as always, we'll see you in the verse.
Have a good night.
Take care, everyone.